The galaxy's elite gathered at the massive command center where hundreds of warships floated in the cold expanse of space. The leaders of the galaxy's strongest races stood side by side, watching the endless display of their fleets, powerful and unchallenged. They had seen countless victories, and each one had made them feel even more superior. At the center of this powerful gathering was a massive alien warship, its size alone enough to intimidate any race. It was heavily armored and packed with advanced weaponry. Its fleet, larger than any other, had crushed enemies without breaking a sweat. The aliens were confident in their dominance, so much so that they mocked any who dared challenge them. Then came the Terran fleet. The human fleet was small, barely a fraction of the size of the others. It consisted of only one ship, the Resolute. It wasn't impressive in appearance. Its hull was patched with older, worn materials, and its engines weren't as fast as the newer models. To the aliens, it seemed like a joke. They laughed and exchanged mocking glances as the Resolute made its slow approach. "Is that all they've sent?" One of the alien commanders sneered. "I thought they would at least try to appear a little threatening." Another alien officer, standing at the head of the command table, shook his head. "What's the point of this charade? One ship against all of us? It's laughable. This'll be over before it even begins." The human ship seemed like nothing more than an insignificant speck among the vastness of the alien fleets. It was so small that the larger ships could have easily crushed it without a second thought. The Terran crew inside the Resolute knew they were being laughed at. But they also knew something the others did. Captain James Carter stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his eyes fixed on the galaxy's biggest warships as they gathered. In the distance, he was no stranger to being underestimated. Over the years, humans had been mocked and belittled by the other races for their lack of advanced technology and their smaller fleets. But the captain knew better. He knew that the heart of a human was their greatest strength. "Keep your focus, crew," Captain Carter said, his voice calm but firm. "They think we're nothing, but we know better. We have a job to do, and we'll do it well." His first officer, Lieutenant Sarah Daniels, stood beside him, watching the alien ships with concern. "Captain, they're mocking us. They're not even taking us seriously." "They don't have to," Carter replied. "We don't need their respect, just their attention." The aliens were too busy laughing at the humans to notice the quiet determination in Captain Carter's eyes. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She had spent enough time with Carter to know that he wasn't one to be underestimated. The Resolute might have been a small ship, but its captain had a mind like no other. Carter turned to his crew. "Get ready for anything. We don't know what's coming, but we'll be ready." The ship's engines hummed as they powered up, and the Resolute slowly moved into position. The alien warships towered over them, their size and firepower making it clear that they could end the human fleet with a single shot. Yet the Terran crew stood firm, despite the taunts they could hear from across the vastness of space. "They will regret underestimating us," Carter muttered to himself. "We might not have the size or the firepower, but we have something they'll never understand." The alien commanders continued their mockery, but their eyes lingered on the Resolute. Something about the ship, even in its smaller state, made them uneasy. They couldn't place it, but they knew that a ship like that wasn't supposed to be here, among fleets far superior. "We should end this quickly," one of the commanders said. "There's no need to waste time on this human ship." But despite their laughter and mockery, deep down, some of them couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that they might have missed something. The humans, after all, had a history of surprising those who underestimated them. Yet this was different. The aliens thought they knew everything, but they didn't know what the humans had planned. They didn't know that Captain Carter had been waiting for this moment for years, carefully studying the alien technology and ancient artifacts that had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy. As the alien fleet prepared for what they assumed would be an easy victory, Captain Carter's eyes narrowed. He knew they wouldn't stand a chance if the battle went according to the aliens' plan, but he had one final card to play. A card that would change everything. "Lieutenant, activate the special protocol," Carter ordered. "Let's show them why they shouldn't laugh." Sarah looked at him, a hint of doubt in her eyes, but she quickly nodded. The crew moved into action, preparing the ship for something that no one in the galaxy would expect. The Resolute may have been small, but it carried with it a secret weapon that had the potential to turn the tide of the galaxy's biggest war. As the alien fleet loomed ahead, Captain Carter felt a calm certainty wash over him. They had been laughed at, mocked, and dismissed. But in the end, it wouldn't be the size of the fleet or the strength of the weapons that would decide the battle. It would be the humans' ability to defy expectations and turn the tide when all seemed lost. The galaxy's elite might have laughed, but soon they would be the ones crying. The Resolute stood still in space, its engines humming softly as the alien fleet continued to mock it. The vastness of space was quiet, but inside the ship, the tension was anything but calm. The alien warships loomed in the distance, their massive forms making the Resolute seem like a speck of dust in comparison. Captain Carter stood at the bridge, his hands resting on the edge of the command table, his eyes scanning the screens before him. He didn't mind the mocking laughter. From the aliens, he had expected it. Humans were often underestimated, and this wasn't the first time the Terran fleet had been looked down upon. What mattered now was proving that size wasn't everything. Lieutenant Daniels. "Status report," Carter said, his voice steady, though a quiet intensity lingered beneath. Lieutenant Sarah Daniels. His first officer was at her station, eyes glued to the readouts. "Captain, all systems are operational. Weapons ready. Shields at full strength. But the enemy is still mocking us. They've detected no threat from us. They're laughing at our position. They've underestimated us, Captain." "I know," Carter said, "but we're not here to play their game. We're here to do our job. We're here to prove that there's more to us than they think." Sarah turned to face him. "You're not worried?" Carter smiled. "Worried? No. When they realize what we have, they won't be laughing anymore." The crew of the Resolute was focused, even though the situation felt strange. Here they were, alone against a fleet of over 100 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy, and yet they had something the aliens didn't: determination. Humans had always been able to rise to the occasion when the odds were stacked against them. This time it was no different. The aliens, still unaware of the trap they were walking into, continued to make their plans. They had already dismissed the Resolute as a joke. They were preparing to engage the Terran ship, but only because they had been ordered to. They didn't even expect resistance. It was almost like they were annoyed by the presence of the Resolute at all. Meanwhile, Captain Carter and his crew knew that the true battle was about to begin. Carter turned to his crew, his voice calm but firm. "Everyone, stay alert. We have one shot at this. When I give the order, we engage." The crew members nodded, their faces serious but determined. They had trained for this moment for years, and they weren't about to let their captain down. Each member of the crew had played a part in uncovering the technology that the Resolute now carried. The weapon they had found, the one the aliens had long forgotten, had the potential to change everything. And the time to use it was drawing near as the alien fleet continued to move forward. One of the commanders of the enemy ships, a towering figure with glowing blue eyes, stood in front of a massive screen on his bridge, watching the Resolute closely. "This ship is a joke," he muttered to his subordinates. "Why haven't they turned and fled? They know they're outmatched." His second in command, a smaller alien with sharp red markings across his skin, nodded. "Their human commander. Perhaps they think they can make a stand." The commander scoffed. "Foolish. We'll crush them easily. Their technology is primitive, and their ship is far too small to be a threat. We'll end this quickly." They didn't realize that this tiny ship, with its crew of brave humans, was ready for a battle like no other. The Resolute wasn't just an ordinary ship, it was the heart and soul of humanity's fighting spirit. Its crew was ready to unleash the full power of the ancient alien weapon they had uncovered. A weapon that had the ability to turn the tide of any battle. Captain Carter looked out at the fleet one last time before turning to his crew. "Lieutenant, activate the weapon. It's time to show them what we're really capable of." Sarah nodded. "Aye, Captain." She began typing rapidly at her console, and the ship's weapons system hummed to life. The crew felt a strange energy in the air as the ancient weapon activated, its power slowly building. On the alien ships, The commander still didn't sense the threat. The moment seemed to stretch on forever, as if the whole universe was holding its breath. The Resolute had become the smallest of players in a battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy, but it was a player with a secret weapon. "Captain," Sarah said, her voice focused, "the weapon is fully charged. We're ready?" Carter's eyes hardened with resolve. "Engage." The Resolute suddenly surged forward, its engines firing with a force that propelled it into the heart of the enemy fleet. The aliens, still dismissing the ship, were caught off guard by its sudden movement. In a flash, the Terran ship fired, launching the full power of the alien weapon. The first shot hit with incredible force, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. One of the larger warships crumpled under the energy blast, its shields failing to protect it. The shock was immediate. The aliens had expected an easy victory. What they had not expected was the strength of the Resolute's hidden power. The commander of the lead alien ship, now realizing the gravity of the situation, shouted, "What is this? What did they do?" But it was too late. The humans had already set their plan in motion, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The alien fleet was in chaos. For a brief moment, there was confusion, as the once confident warships reeled from the unexpected attack. The Resolute had fired a single shot, but the power behind it was enough to make the galaxy's strongest warships tremble. Captain Carter stood at the bridge of the Resolute, his eyes scanning the aftermath. The alien ship that had taken the brunt of the attack was now floating in space, crippled and lifeless. Smoke billowed from its shattered hull, and its massive size had done nothing to protect it from the force of the weapon. "Did you see that?" Lieutenant Sarah Daniels asked, her voice filled with awe and disbelief. "The blast... It's unlike anything we've ever seen." Carter nodded, his face grim. "I knew it would work, but I didn't expect it to be this effective. We have to keep moving." The crew worked swiftly, their focus unshaken. The Resolute had no time to celebrate its first success. The alien fleet had been shaken, but not defeated. The remaining ships quickly regrouped, their commanders now aware that the Terran ship was no ordinary threat. On the alien flagship, the one-scum commanders were now scrambling, their faces filled with anger and fear. The blue-eyed commander, who had mocked the humans just moments before, slammed his fist against the console. "How is this possible?" he growled. "This ship is supposed to be weak, fragile. What do they have that could cause this much damage?" His second in command, still stunned by the sudden turn of events, stammered, "It must be a trick. Our weapons can't be that advanced. ... Shut up and find out what just happened." The commander snapped. "We will not be humiliated by a human ship. Mobilize the fleet. Bring everything we have." The alien ships responded quickly, charging forward to retaliate, their weapons locked and ready. But they weren't prepared for what came next, Captain. Carter's eyes never left the screens in front of him. He knew they'd come after them, and he knew that the Resolute was still at a disadvantage in terms of firepower. But they had one more surprise to unleash. Lieutenant Carter said, his voice calm but commanding, "Activate the secondary weapon system. It's time to finish this." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Aye, Captain. Activating now." The secondary weapon was something that had been buried deep within the ship's archives, something the crew had barely understood when they found it. But now, in the heat of battle, it was their only chance to survive. It was a weapon unlike any the aliens had seen before, an ancient device capable of manipulating energy. On a massive scale, the Resolute hummed again, its power surging as the weapon powered up. The crew felt the ship vibrate as if it was alive. Responding to the command, energy rippled through the ship's hull and then shot out. A bright beam of concentrated force that hit one of the alien warship's dead center. The ship erupted in a flash of light, disintegrating into space. The alien fleet had no time to react as the Resolute fired again, this time hitting a second ship, sending it into a fiery spiral. 2 down, Captain Sarah reported, her voice steady, but with a hint of disbelief. "We're doing it." Carter remained focused. "Keep it up. Don't stop now. We're not out of the woods yet." The alien fleet, now fully aware of the threat they faced, scrambled to regroup. Their pride had been wounded. No longer were they laughing at the human ship. Now they were fighting for their survival. But the Resolute wasn't finished. With each shot, the human ship seemed to grow stronger, its resolve hardening with every passing second. The alien commanders, now fully enraged, began to panic. The battle was no longer in their favor. Their pride had turned into fear, and the confidence they had once exuded was gone. They had underestimated the Terrans, and now they were paying the price. In the command center of the alien flagship, the blue-eyed commander barked out orders. All ships surround the Resolute. Don't let them escape. We will crush them. The remaining alien ships moved into formation, surrounding the Resolute. They were determined to overwhelm the tiny human ship with sheer numbers. The Resolute was surrounded on all sides, its escape route cut off. But Captain Carter was calm. He had been preparing for this. The aliens had fallen into his trap. "Lieutenant, power up the engines. We're breaking through." Sarah's eyes widened. "Captain, you're not seriously thinking of—" "I am," Carter said, his voice full of confidence. "We have one more shot at this. Get ready." The Resolute's engines roared to life, and the ship accelerated toward the heart of the alien fleet. It was an unexpected move, one that none of the alien commanders had anticipated. The Resolute barreled through the alien ships, using its speed and agility to slip between the larger warships, weaving in and out of their grasp. The alien ships, stunned by the boldness of the move, found themselves unable to stop the human ship. The Resolute was small, but its crew was determined. They had proven that they weren't just a joke. They weren't just a small, weak fleet. They were Terrans, and they were ready to fight. As the Resolute made its way through the alien fleet, Captain Carter could feel the tide turning. The aliens had underestimated them, and now it was too late. The battle for the galaxy's respect had only just begun. The Resolute had broken through the alien fleet, its engines roaring as it sped past the massive ships that had once surrounded it. The humans on board were determined to keep pushing forward, not letting the surprise attack go to waste. But the battle was far from over. The alien ships quickly regrouped, now more desperate than ever to destroy the human ship. They had never faced such resistance before. Captain Carter stood firm at the bridge, his eyes focused on the incoming alien. "Warships, Lieutenant, status report," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Enemy fleet is closing in fast," Lieutenant Daniels replied. "They've regrouped and are coming at us with full force. We can't keep outrunning them for long." Carter nodded. "We don't need to outrun them. We need to hold our ground." The Resolute was small, but it was fast. The alien ships were large, powerful, and heavily armed. But the humans had something they didn't, the ability to adapt quickly and think on their feet. Carter knew they had no choice but to fight back with everything they had. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Carter ordered. "Get the shields up to maximum power. We're going to hit them where it hurts." The crew scrambled to follow his orders, their hands moving quickly across the controls. The alien ships were closing in, their weapons charging for a final strike, but they didn't expect the Resolute to be ready for them. Sarah Daniels looked at the captain, her face serious. "Captain, they're coming in fast. Are you sure about this?" Carter's eyes never left the screen. "Trust me, Lieutenant. We're not running, we're going to stand our ground." As the alien ships drew nearer, the Resolute prepared itself for the next phase of the plan. Carter had studied the alien fleet's movements, their patterns, and weaknesses. We knew that the larger ships were powerful, but their speed and maneuverability were their weaknesses. And that's exactly what the humans needed to exploit. With a sudden burst of speed, the Resolute darted to the side, narrowly avoiding a massive blast from one of the alien ships. The energy beam missed them by inches, but the ship's shields held strong, absorbing the shock. "Nice work, crew," Carter said, his voice steady.
Ow!
"Let's show them what we're really made of." The Resolute shot forward again, weaving through the alien ships with surprising agility. The humans had learned to use the ship's speed to their advantage, ducking and dodging between larger vessels. The alien ships tried to follow, but they were slower, more cumbersome, and couldn't match the Resolute's speed. Firing the secondary weapon, Zara said, her hands flying over the console. The ship's weapon systems hummed to life, once more releasing a powerful burst of energy that hit another alien warship. The explosion lit up the vastness of space as the ship was torn apart. One of the alien commanders, watching from his flagship, shouted in fury. "They're using speed and surprise to avoid our attacks. We need to crush them now," but it was too late. The Resolute was already making its way to the next target. Carter had learned from his past experiences. He knew that it wasn't enough to rely on brute force. Strategy, quick thinking, and timing were the keys to victory. And the Resolute was proving to be a master at it. On the bridge, the crew watched the alien ship struggle to adjust to the sudden change in tactics. The Resolute moved like lightning, each blast hitting its mark with precision. The aliens had never expected the humans to fight back with such cleverness. "Captain, their fleet is breaking apart," Lieutenant Daniels reported. "The enemy is in disarray. They're not sure how to respond." "Good," Carter said, his tone cold, but satisfied. "You've given them something to think about." The alien ships, once so confident in their superiority, were now in full retreat. The Resolute had turned the tide of the battle, proving that size and firepower weren't the only things that mattered. The humans had something far more dangerous: the ability to think outside the box and fight with everything they had. But the alien commanders weren't about to give up so easily. They had lost ships, and their pride was wounded. They were angry, now furious, at being shown up by a single human ship, and they were determined to destroy it no matter the cost. The blue-eyed commander, who had once laughed at the Resolute, now barked orders with desperation. "We will not let them win. Send everything we have. All ships, focus on the Resolute. We will destroy them." But the humans weren't intimidated. Carter turned to Sarah and the crew. "We've shown them what we can do. Now we finish this." With a deep breath, Carter ordered, "All systems, prepare for the final strike. Let's make sure they never forget this battle."
Oh.
The Resolute launched forward one final time, heading straight toward the heart of the alien fleet. The remaining alien warships, now too disorganized to react in time, couldn't stop the human ship's relentless advance. The Resolute powered through, its weapons firing at full capacity. As the final shots were fired, one of the remaining alien ships exploded in a burst of light, its shields overwhelmed by the power of the Resolute. The battle was over. The Resolute slowed to a stop in the quiet of space. The alien fleet had been defeated, and the humans had won. Carter stood tall, his eyes fixed on the view of space before him. "Well done, everyone," he said. "Showed them. The galaxy will never look at us the same again." The crew of the Resolute breathed a collective sigh of relief. They had faced impossible odds and had come out victorious. The galaxy had underestimated them, and now it would. Remember the power of the Terran fleet. The Resolute drifted through space, its engines quiet as the last of the alien warships drifted away, broken and defeated. The once mighty fleet that had surrounded them was now scattered, each ship retreating into the void, wounded and demoralized. Captain Carter stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the screens in front of him. He didn't smile, he didn't cheer. The battle was over, but the reality of what they had just achieved still hadn't fully sunk in. The Resolute had faced overwhelming odds, and yet, against all expectations, it had triumphed. "Captain Young," Lieutenant Daniels said, her voice filled with quiet disbelief, "We did it. We actually did it." Carter nodded slowly. "Yes, we did. But it's not over yet. The galaxy won't forget this. Neither will the aliens. We've made an impression, but we need to stay alert. This battle is just the beginning." He turned to face the rest of the crew. "Everyone, great work. You did what was thought to be impossible, but remember, the galaxy is watching. This may have been our victory, but we'll need to keep proving ourselves." The crew nodded, understanding the weight of Carter's words. The Resolute was no longer the laughingstock of the galaxy. It had proven its worth. The humans had shown the other species that they were a force to be reckoned with. But Carter knew that respect didn't come easily in the galaxy. It had to be earned over and over again. Sarah walked up beside him, her face still reflecting. The amazement of what had just happened. The alien fleet. They never stood a chance once we had them in position. Carter looked at her, his expression serious. They never did. But they didn't know that. The biggest advantage we had was that they underestimated us. Sarah smiled. I guess we proved them wrong. We did, Carter said. But now, we need to make sure we don't fall into the same trap. The galaxy won't forget this, but they will look for weaknesses. We have to stay ahead. The alien ships were now far off, retreating into the distant reaches of space. Carter knew that, despite their defeat, they would eventually regroup. The galaxy's largest fleet had learned a painful lesson today. But that didn't mean they wouldn't be back. Carter's eyes turned to the stars beyond. There was much more at stake. As the Resolute moved back into position, Carter ordered a full scan of the nearby space. Let's see if we can pick up any signs of the enemy regrouping? Scanning now, Captain, Sarah replied, typing quickly at her console. It looks like they're falling back to a nearby system. There's no immediate signs of pursuit, but we should stay on high alert. Carter nodded. Good. Keep monitoring the situation. We'll have to make sure we're ready for anything. Resolute's mission had started as a simple reconnaissance assignment, one that no one had expected to be anything more than a routine patrol. But now it had turned into something much bigger. The Terran ship had faced a challenge no one thought it could survive. It had come out victorious. But even as the Resolute moved through the vastness of space, Carter knew that their victory didn't mean they were safe. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and the defeat of one alien fleet was only the beginning. There would be others who would test humanity, eager to prove that they were still the superior force. The crew worked in silence, their attention focused on their duties. The hum of the engines was the only sound on the bridge as the Resolute continued its journey. Carter looked out at the stars, his mind racing. The victory had been sweet, but it had also been a warning. Humanity was no longer just a small, insignificant part of the galaxy. It shown their power, and there was no turning back. Captain, Sarah said, breaking the silence, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Galactic Council. Carter's heart skipped a beat. The Galactic Council was the governing body of the galaxy's most powerful races. The message was unexpected, and Carter couldn't help but wonder what it meant. Put it through, he ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing a group of alien faces, all looking serious and somber.
One of them,
a tall alien with red skin and piercing yellow eyes, spoke first. Captain Carter, this is Counselor Drax of the Galactic Council. We've been watching your battle, and we have much to discuss. Carter straightened. He had expected something like this. The Council would want to make sure they were still in control, and they would likely demand answers. We're listening, Counselor Carter said. The Resolute has proven that humanity is not as weak as we once thought, Drax continued. But you must understand there are consequences for challenging the established order. The galaxy is not a place for small, untested fleets to disrupt the balance. Carter felt the weight of the Council's words, but he didn't flinch. We didn't challenge anyone. We were simply defending ourselves. Defending yourself is one thing, but you've made your mark. And now we must decide what to do with you, Drax said, his tone cold. Your actions will not be forgotten. Prepare for the consequences, Captain Carter. The transmission ended and the screen went black. The crew on the bridge was silent, each person processing what had just happened. Carter stood still for a moment, his mind working through the Council's words. They're scared, he said quietly, scared of what we might do next. Sarah looked at him, concern in her eyes. What do we do now? Carter's voice was steady. Now we prepare for what's coming. We may have won the battle, but the war is just beginning.